Welcome to the Peru Tech Bytes podcast with Nick Damiani and John Mitchell. Our podcasts are designed to help teachers navigate the murky waters of appropriate technology use in their classrooms. Let's get started. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the special edition of the Peru Tech Byte podcast. This is Nick Damiani. I will be flying solo today as we roll out this special episode focused on esports in the Peru Central School District. So today I'm joined by two special guests. We have Dean Delano, who is a high school and middle school teacher here in the Peru District, and he is the head of our fast-growing esports program here on campus. So thanks for joining us, Dean.
Thanks for having me.
And we are also joined by our high school principal, Mr. Matt Barry. He has been a huge proponent and a support system for us as we've tried to roll out this new program here in Peru. So thank you for joining us, Mr. Barry.
Always a pleasure.
So we are excited today to have a conversation about esports. We're extremely excited about the program that we've been able to kick off here over the past year. And Mr. Delano has done a fantastic job of taking the lead with organizing these opportunities for students within the middle school and high school. So, Dean, why don't you get us started by just explaining a little bit about what is esports?
So esports is a kind of a collective term that has surfaced probably, I would say, 10 to 15 years ago. It started to come around as a term. It evolved from competitive gaming. And so right now we look at esports as almost like an athletic event for our students, but also an opportunity for them to explore some career opportunities beyond just playing the game, but in things like video production, marketing, business administration. So all of those things kind of tie into the ecosystem of esports. So it really is more than just playing a game. We focus on the team aspect of it with the communication, the responsibilities for one another in that environment, as well as the career pieces.
Yeah, and I think when we started researching esports just around 2 years ago, we started looking at, how do we bring this opportunity to Peru? How do we get students involved in something that I think, video gaming is a high interest activity. We have, 75% of the student population or more participate in gaming and play video games. So we saw this as an opportunity to really engage students in ways that we have not engaged them in the past. So I think a lot of students participate in traditional athletics, and they find that they develop a sense of school pride by participating in in that regular, football, basketball, baseball, volleyball, those types of sports that we've always offered. But there's always been a population of students that they don't do those things, and they don't engage in the school community through those sports. So we saw esports as an opportunity to really engage students in a way that met them at an interest level, something that they were interested in, and we are providing them that opportunity now through our competitive esports program.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's really interesting to see them come from their casual gaming environment into this setting. For a lot of them, the first time they've been on a team, first time that they've been working cooperatively in these different titles. So it's a really neat learning experience for all of us, and me included.
Yeah, and I coached high school football for 10 years, and I've coached a variety of other sports as well. And there is a skill set that you want to really develop within your athletes. And the big piece is teamwork, working on a team, communicating, what the objectives are, what the goals are. You want to develop good sportsmanship, good quality communication, and leadership. And I immediately saw this transition to the esports world. And you were able to take this unstructured environment that students are participating in, and you can provide them structure and really coach them up on a lot of the soft skills that, all of our students need in order to be successful at the next level, that college and career level. So I think, we've done a nice job of recruiting students and getting them involved in the program. You've done a fantastic job of that. And behind the scenes, we're working on kind of another next level of partnership with the college and career readiness piece. So, Mr. Barry, where do you find the benefits, of providing students with this career and college opportunity at the high school level?
Well, I think one thing we pride ourselves on in our high school is to try to create as many pathways as possible for students, and we try to meet the individual where they're at. And we do that through programming in a systematic manner. And I commend all of our teachers and all of our disciplines to continue to strive to provide those opportunities for students. I like to not really steal a word from Dean, but he used the word evolution. That's what this is. That's exactly what this is the next opportunity for our students. And Nick, to piggyback on what you had said, myself coaching for years and being part of teams and also being class advisors and student council advisors, there's a level of community service and a level of commitment that you get through being part of something bigger than yourselves. I'm not going to hide it. I'm a child of the 90s. Video games were pretty popular then, and the gaming consoles and the avenue to play those games were getting better and better with PS1, PS2, and it kind of, obviously evolved into 5 right now, and the terrific equipment that we've worked to build in our TL3 lab. So I see this at, it's the next chapter of opportunity for our students. And one of the things that I love about it is the ability for our students to learn. For example, when I was, playing video games in the 90s, you might get upset, you might throw a controller. Just as you would get a technical foul in basketball, you're going to sit out of the event in the esports game. And I think we are what we repeatedly do, and people, forget that sometimes. And what I think the great opportunity in partnering at the college level and possibly gaining college credits for our students coming out of high school in esports, specifically with Canton College, that's in the works right now. It's not set in stone. I don't want to put the cart before the horse, but we are trying to provide those opportunities for students just as we do in our other disciplines. It makes me think of the Bob Dylan song, "The Times They Are Changing." You better start swimming or you'll sink like a stone. We're not going to let our kids sink, and this is another opportunity for them.
Yeah, and I think one of the other, we had a couple big hooks when it came to starting an esports program. We obviously wanted to engage a population of students that we struggle to engage, but we also wanted to provide them with some background knowledge on what these career opportunities are within the esports industry. So we get the students in to play the game as the hook, and then there's an opportunity there once they're committed to the program to develop the big picture items, right? The career, what careers are out there, what skills do you need to be successful within these careers, what colleges and universities offer these opportunities, and then we can start, trying to create a pathway to the next level for our students. And
I think the interesting part is you could possibly, and this is, with our talks with Canton College, talking with Mr. Delano and Mr. Damiani, the interesting part for me is you don't have to love video games. You can take a business skills course and realize that video games are the next lucrative thing. And how are you going to market it? How are you going to be the business person who gets involved? I think that's the great part of the pathway, is it's not as possibly stereotypical as people think. It is wide and branches out for all sorts of students, and that's what I love about it.
yeah, and I think when you compare it to any type of traditional sport at the professional level, you're talking a less than 1% that compete professionally. They earn a true living competing professionally against the best in the world. There's such a small percentage. But the rest of the world of esports, or whatever the football program or whatever it might be at the professional level, the rest of that world requires a lot of key players to make it successful. And that's what we want, students to understand, that yeah, you might have the ability to compete professionally. Like if you're in that top 1%, you're going to get that chance. But what if you're interested in gaming and you're connected to it, but you're not within that 1%? How can you follow a career path, in that area? And it's trying to look at what all these opportunities are. And I think we've done a nice job. I think Dean's done a nice job of trying to open the eyes of the students. They are interested in the game. Yes, but look at all these other things that are going to be out there for you to be able to do. And you don't have to be the best gamer to do them. And like you just said, Matt, you don't have to really like gaming to know that it's an industry that's growing. And if you are business savvy, there is a spot for you in the esports industry. And just getting students to understand, getting adults to understand, parents and teachers to understand that this is a world that is growing. And we want to provide students in Peru the opportunity to compete in that world, and that's what we want to be able to provide them the opportunity to do. And the foundation of an esports program, that's what our goal is. Right?
Yeah, and it's new, so I mean it's constantly evolving and changing, and there are different aspects of esports that we need to consider, and we want to open the eyes for our students. So a lot of it is educating students and parents and community about like what are these opportunities, what do they look like. I mean, I get it. My oldest son is a perfect example of somebody who has interest in esports, and when he was in high school, we were like, "What the heck are you going to do in esports? Like, are you going to, that's 1%." It was that conversation of like, "Well, you're not going to play NFL, right?" But then, as we sort of got more open to the conversations, he's currently in data analytics and finishing up his master's degree, and I mean, he's got the background in those ecosystems that we've been looking at. So it's an education for all of us to get a better idea of what are these opportunities, and like you said, starting where the students are, and if they've got interest in this, then how can we help provide them pathways to grow.
So speaking on the interest level, how many athletes do we have right now competing in our esports program?
So we have 38 that are competing, 52 in our circle of communication right now. Yep. But active participants are 38.
I'd love to bring some perspective to that. We currently went to football, our first fall 2 football practice, to just poke my head in there yesterday, and there were 39 athletes on our football team. So to bring some perspective to that, we're drawing the same numbers as our largest sports team. I think it's just, I didn't mean to interrupt you, Mr. Delano, but I think it's important to understand the magnitude of this.
Right, and that was the direction I was going. So we had that many students competing. It's one of our largest teams,
yep.
Right? And we've been extremely competitive. So when it comes to how we compete, what are we competing? Like, what leagues do you compete in right now?
So right now we are competing. We've actually expanded, and we continue to kind of grow our program, trying to bite off appropriate amounts, but sometimes it's hard to find that balance because students are interested and they're hungry, and we want to try to capture that enthusiasm and that energy. So right now we are in 3 leagues, actually. We have a Play Versus League, which was our first experience with esports. That offers a regional tournament, which is East Coast, as well as a state tournament, or league, I should say, that ends in a tournament. And then we're also working with HSCL this year, which is the first time that we've explored that opportunity. That's more of a national experience for our students. We're often pitted against teams from East and West Coast in that setting on a weekly basis. And then this is our first season that we're able to offer competitive competition for middle school students.
Yeah. So when you look at these opportunities, all right, so if you take traditional sports, if we're going to offer a comparison, you compete at the sectional level, right, local level, and then you gradually grow to the state level. If you win your section, you get to compete against other state competition. So we always, as a football coach, we always looked at trying to provide students an opportunity to gain experience of competing, downstate or across the state, just to let them know that they can compete at that level. It doesn't matter where you're from. If you're committed and you're working hard, you can compete and represent your area well. So what a unique opportunity to participate in a competition where you are lining up against other districts in the state. You can line up against districts locally, like we've done that. We've competed against some local schools. But then you also get the opportunity to line up against other districts across the country. Yep. And I just think that's a fantastic, eye-opening experience for our students to see.
We've also had, in a couple competitions, we've had teams come in from Canada, England, and Germany, too. So
it's such a great opportunity for connections, too, and the social emotional piece that we talk about. And the pandemic has hit that hard. Yes, it's hit our academics hard as well, due to many things, but I think the academics are a byproduct of the social emotional piece. And just to share a story, on our senior day, the other day, I got a chance to play Rocket League with a student, and we had great conversation, and it was a student that I hadn't had a chance to connect with. And to speak to echo what Mr. Delano is saying, not only the large-scale connections that you make across the Atlantic, but also our local connections here as well.
Right. Meeting the students at something, at the level that they're interested in really just reinforces our willingness to really care about them and want to connect with them. I think sometimes there's a natural division between adults and students, and they feel like we can't relate to where they are. So it's really up to us to figure out the ways to relate. And this is an instant, like, impactful moment that you can have with students just by getting on their level with gaming. And it opens the door for deeper conversation and connection. And, I see as we're we're going to start to eventually get back to some sense of normalcy with, more consistent daily instruction, those types of things. We're going to have some relationship building that has to take place. We're going to have to patch some relationships that were lost or broken during this time. And what a great way to engage with students, in something that they're interested in. So I think it's only going to help us develop relationships as we get into the next couple school years.
Yeah, 100% agree.
So, I think, to really sum it up, I'm extremely proud of where we're at right now within the program. I think we've done a great job of getting it up and running. And I'm just really excited to see what the future holds from, the participation level to the experience level of getting students to compete all across the country. I think that's amazing. And then we're really excited to see, where some of these college partnerships can go and what courses we can mirror with our esports program. I know this year we've offered cybersecurity and game design, but then there are so many other cross-curricular opportunities that we can offer students to build their foundation as they look to transition out of Peru and compete in that global world. And I think this is a fantastic way for us to set Peru apart and say, this is what we do in Peru. We're going to put our flag in the ground and we're going to set the bar from broadcasting, live streaming to gaming and competition, social emotional component, curriculum component. These are all the things that we're putting into this program to make it something more than what we really ever thought it could be.
Absolutely. It's not just video games. It is a pathway and a career pathway, a collegiate pathway in many different ways for many different students.
And a building relationship pathway.
Absolutely.
Like if you think of all the different pieces that are coming in. So very excited. I'd like to thank both of you for joining us today. Fantastic conversation. We definitely look forward to seeing what the future holds for Peru Esports.
You've been listening to the Peru Tech Bytes podcast. Be sure to subscribe on Spotify, Google Podcast, or wherever you like to listen to podcasts. If you enjoy the show, be sure to share with colleagues and friends, and follow us on Twitter at ndemiani_PCSD and jmitchellPCSD. Thanks again for listening, and remember, tech doesn't bite.